This is Kick-Ass Love. I'm Tina Overbury, and welcome to episode 0. We're doing something different here. We're writing a book, his book, Trevor Kasteel's book, live, right here on this podcast. And the book we're writing, it's about what it really takes to come back from hell and build a life that doesn't just work, it means something. I'm a story coach and a brand new expressive arts therapist. In fact, as I record this, I'm a handful of months away from graduating with my new expressive arts therapy diploma. For the last 10 years, I've helped people write, author, and publish their books. The people I work with have big stories, and Trevor's is just that. So meet my co-host and the guy at the heart of this story, Trevor Kasteel.
Episode 1.
So fun.
Wow.
Got kind of real, hey?
It's getting very real. I wish I could, I've said this in a few selfie videos that I've taken over the years, that I wish I could just have someone just jump inside and see what is going on inside and feel it, whether, all the way through, because it's just, it's hard to describe in words. You can't. So, yeah, so it's getting real. Holy crap, is it ever getting real?
I just want to circle back to what you just said, though, about, and I guess we should say hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to.
Yeah. Hi. Sorry about that. That was a little squirrel note. Yeah.
Welcome to episode 1. You may have
There we
watched
go.
episode 0, where we introduced the concept of kick-ass love and the book that Trevor is writing, and I'm space holding and story coaching along the way. And if you haven't watched episode 0 yet, you still can, and lean in a bit more and learn a little bit more about where we're starting from. Well, welcome to this episode.
Yeah, welcome. Right
I
on.
just want, you said a thing though, I want to come back to
Sure.
about sometimes you wish people could see what was going on the inside. And effectively, that's what, this series is allowing to happen. And I'm just wondering how that is for you, letting people in like this.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. With letting people in, that's a piece of cake. Um, I just need to be more thoughtful, and I'm trying to be more thoughtful and aware of how I let people in so that I don't hurt them or shock them, and not knowing their path or what could possibly trigger them or things like that. And then also and some of it's pretty raw content. So um, I think I just want to, I'm just trying to be more careful with it, with letting people in. That's not a problem.
Mm.
Um, the the um, the difficulty, and I went out to see Dad at cemetery again, like I talked about in episode 0, um, because I need to calm myself ahead of this, and it's such a turmoil. It's such a like I'm almost in tears right now because it's just indescribable, the torment. And people can be out there and then they can quickly assume or judge or give opinions as to, just give it to God, or just, this or that, or what have you. And um, unless you're in it, um, and everybody has their own custom journey, as we talked about, you don't get it unless, and kind of like a lot of things in life, unless you've experienced something. I can't go and profess about, all kinds of different things out there in the world and what people should do, because I have no clue. So I'm just saying, it is I'm hesitant to say it's a constant fight every day, but um, even though it is somewhat, it's just so messy. It's so messy. It's so insidious. And the more that I find out and the more that I research on myself and that I explore, now that I'm connecting more and more dots and doing this self forensic audit of self, um, and especially in the unconscious side of things, the more there is, and the more there is, that means the more I grieve and have to process. And the more I understand, the more pain comes with that, and the more suffering. So yes, suicide is an invitation for peace. Um, and it can be very attractive, and it has been in my life many times, as we already know, and that I've written about in various things over the years and the decades. But it's a it's a torture on a daily basis that I need to, the more I understand, the more peace I get, and that I need to move forward into. I can't even describe it in words, but
A great job.
I'm thank
You're
you.
doing a great job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. So I know I was supposed to be here. I know that Dad and God up there, even though I was pissed off at them at some points, um, this is the path I'm supposed to walk and the shit that I'm supposed to share. So, hopefully it can help other people out there, whatever comes from this.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
move at the speed of your togetherness. Because sometimes what can happen in mm, in our generosity from our pain, we can sacrifice ourselves. And that's not what we're up to here at all.
Mm.
There is a healing element of being in our story and sharing it, being witnessed in that without having to push it. Because as much as we are here knowing that we're writing this book together, and yes, we've chosen to do this in this YouTube way, this podcast way, there's
Wild.
which is wild. There is, and that it wouldn't be for everybody,
No,
that road wouldn't be for everybody, but there's something that I've witnessed in you that is kind of set free, if you will, when you're seen. And the pain that you endured was unseen.
you know what comes to mind, and I thought about this, I think even this morning, and now that you said the word healing. And so, what the hell is healing? And this is part of what we talked about the last episode is breaking things down to root causes or even understanding terms. And what I'm going to, and I wrote about this before in a guest comment that I did in the Northern News up here a while ago, um, was I looked up the definition of health and health in the American Psychological Association. Because also from a business standpoint, you need to have something factual. You need to have like I need to have. I don't want to talk fluff and just fluff. I don't want to just talk about my story. I want to have something substantial, something concrete, some same way you put your tools on and you build a house, you need a blueprint. Well, we need something substantial. So we need substance, hard facts. And so health, and don't quote me on this, but it says something to the definition says something about, the idea of the freedom of distress with your body, your mind, and your spirit. So I mean, I don't even like saying mental health because it encapsulates the torture inside here encapsulates everything. It's physical, the body. So you can just see by the definition alone, it's the body, the mind, and the spirit. So it's actually all three. So mental health is limited
Hmm.
because the mental health, there's also the health that is affected by the mental with the body, with the spirit.
Hmm.
But the spirit was hurt in the first place, for me at least. My soul was tortured. And the biggest part was unconsciously tortured, which is a whole vast universe on its own, not versus the conscious. And so my soul was tortured. Then my mind has suffered and my body has suffered, and they're all one unit. It's not just mental health for me. So, um, that starts to get into something more tangible, but the more I explore, the more I find, and it just keeps going and going. But so the healing journey, I mean, I didn't just start healing when I broke down and we had the wildfire evacuation and all that. I mean, I don't even, I wasn't even, I was just doing my best all along through these decades with therapy and all of this kind of stuff off and on. Um, and charging him and all that. I was just doing my best all along and the best that I knew, but there was so much that I didn't know. And so the more that things happened in my life and even some big things that led to the bankruptcy of Kasteel Construction and during the wildfire evacuation in Yellowknife in the summer of 2023, and then the psych ward stay for 4 weeks, which I've never been in before and scared the shit out of me. Um, you know, that was just another step, or it's a level up when you're playing a video game and you're going, holy shit, there's another level. Are you
Mm.
kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
Like I'm surprised because I don't know unconsciously at the time what's there. So you're exploring the universe. You're like in the Star Trek Enterprise, you're Captain Kirk, and you're going, no, there's more planets to see and more planets and new galaxies. And it doesn't stop.
So I'm just going to pause you just for a sec and just take a moment to just, whew,
Yeah, sorry, I was getting my conditioning and getting hyped up there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's a bit like a rocket ship, hey? It
It's
just,
just, yeah, it's forever. It's
yeah.
messy. So then it's also the reality of saying, okay, now the acceptance, the acknowledgement, the acceptance, this is what it is. So don't get down about it. I only raised a suicide because that was the extreme to get the peace. But I know where to
So
compartment, I know where to, and things like I know where to guide that now. But it's just a mess.
it's just a mess. There's a lot of layers here, and I just want to name
Oh,
that I think after our first session, our first call, like our first episode that felt pretty good, there it seems like something feels safe enough to go right into the lion's den today, because
mm,
that's kind of where we started. But that's actually not where we started. That was like two steps in. But the first step in, and this is where I want to come back to, is to prepare for today. You resourced yourself. You went to go see your dad.
yeah.
And then you took us. So you told us about that, which I want to come back to and understand that a bit more. And it sounds like that resourcing is also allowed this space to make the connection of going off into the galaxy. Like both are true. There's a galaxy of pain. There's an understanding of the mind, body, spirit, health. And there's this, I'm going to call it home. That's just the word that comes up for me, but this sense of peace of going to see your dad. And can you share with us a little bit of perhaps of what it means to you to go see your dad? Because there are probably listeners who are in their own pain right now and may not know the importance of having a place where peace lives. What's that like for you? Mm.
Um, Thank you. And this is um I want to see my dad. Well, I mean that's a whole big cookie too. Um, I remember from the funeral when I was 13 back in 82, um, when I was just walking up the hill of the service and I was getting into the back of the limo and there was this big quartz stone in his headstone, which is virtually the same as his, from then. Um, I think it's like a relationship with my dad after he died and the evolving of that relationship because, like I said, I didn't even realize I was angry at him for some things, and that came out in the EMDR therapy. Um, I think around 2015, 10 years ago. So our relationship has uh, been growing and evolving. Um, and some people may think about that and go, "What the hell's wrong with this guy?" I mean, his dad died in 1982, and what's he talking about a growing relationship with his dad? Well, um, I listened to something from, or it was, I think it was David Brooks and his book on character,
Mm-hmm.
and it was I think Ida Eisenhower, the mother of Dwight, and where he tells a story about Dwight going out his anger, temper at 9 years old, and getting his knuckles on punching a tree out there. So she let him cry for about an hour and then went to see him. And then she quoted I think it's a Bible verse. And she said, "He that conquers his own soul is greater than he who conquers a city." Um, and the internal is what I'm focusing on, the care for my soul versus the external. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and how do I do that? I do that through this new self-love or self-nurturing. And again, people may hear love and they go, "Oh, it's fluff." I'm a, I am a tough son of a bitch or a son of a gun. And I've worked hard all my life and in many ways. And so all I'm doing is I'm just brave enough to say it is the love is incredibly strong and the source of a lot of things, of humility, um, to do the self-examination. Um, but I needed to be broken again, and I needed to suffer more in order to level up. And
Mm.
that's what happened during the evacuation.
Well, let's go there. Start there. And I just want to thank your dad in whatever
Yeah,
realm he is in for the
yeah,
love that he has poured into you
yeah.
and the
Thanks, Pops.
13 years. Thanks, Pops. Yeah.
I give a high five, but I can't see him, so
Yeah. Well, for the 13 years of love that was there before the brutality of the abuse started. So you had a foundation and you still have that foundation of those 13 years. And I love that you go see your dad before we check in here.
I have
Yeah.
to be calm. So the heightened conditioning that I've had all my life and going, 10th gear all the time. Well,
Mhm.
the latest triggers before the evacuation brought it up even higher. But I'm now that I'm aware of this for this last year and a half, I've been working hard, even though I'm failing at times and even making mistakes with other people. I'm aware of some of these things now to do my best to tackle them. But holy crap, is it exhausting too, physically and mentally. to tackle that. But yeah, I now thank you, Dad, and let's keep going.
And we can, I can want to check in with you. Like, does it feel okay? Not okay, it's not the right word. Does it feel good to talk about the wildfire today? Because we don't have to. We could talk about all kinds of things.
No, for
Just
sure. I
check
I
in with
think
you
the
first. Like, really just check in. Is this where you want to go today?
no, I really appreciate that, Tina. But part of this is hard work, and so again, I'm trying to, one of my key self-awareness factors is also balance. So
Mm,
I need to make sure that I'm being balanced all the time. So I'm trying to treat myself with gentleness, but at the same time, I need to kick myself in the ass, given kick-ass love. So I need to kick myself in the ass to get shit done.
yeah.
And so when does it become avoidance and that condition avoidance? So I mean, again, it's so messy. So the simplistic part of it is let's keep going
Okay.
because, this is what mm, I need to do and what is the right thing to do. But we're going to do it gently. And I appreciate what you said. Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So we kind of jumped in midstream in this one,
Yeah,
which is
didn't we?
what it is where we
Yeah,
are. So
that's how we roll.
is how we roll. You
That's how
have a
we roll.
formula that kick-ass love, the kick-ass love formula, which is suffering plus courage equals resilience. And I feel like we opened a bit on suffering today. It just what does
Oh
suffering
yeah.
look like? And so we're going to give a bit of backstory today, and we're going to talk about the catalyst that broke things open for you 5 years ago and really started the journey that you're on now. And it started with the wildfires. And I'm just gonna add a little thing for you to consider. Okay. You said
Sure.
this thing before we got into the wildfire story, which was you had to suffer more suffering had to come in order to level up. I'm not gonna make you wrong about that, but I am gonna just ask you to consider the equation of that. Like that, it's possible that we are dished things in our life so that we level up. It's also possible that shitty things happen and we have a choice on how to be with it. Because my concern about a belief system that shit happens to us so that we level up is it kind of makes it like we're at the shitty end of the stick on this life thing if bad things have to happen in order for us to level up.
Well, I think with that, and sorry to jump in, but
Yeah.
the other component I mean, we did talk a lot about suffering there, but I mean, all it is just exposing it for what it is, and describing it. So, so but the biggest thing, is, and it's in the title, is love. We talked about
Mm,
that as well. So when we talk about the formula of suffering plus courage equals resiliency. Well, what is in courage? It's love. So, all it is like it's looking at those components, and there's real strength in love, and then a lot of things, just good things, stem from that. And that's not being weak, actually. That's being courageous. That's being strong because you're being authentic, you're being real. There's no bullshit there. So you should be patted on the back for actually showing some love, because we're human beings. We're not bloody machines and transactional.
ding, ding.
So, yeah. So the other aspect of that, what I just wanted to highlight too, is then we talk about suffering. What does suffering actually mean? So not only what does suffering mean, what does courage mean, breaking those down, what does resiliency mean, which we
Mm-hmm.
can do and we'll do all later. But where does even suffering come from? What does it mean? What does it look like? What are the components? What are the triggers? What are the different, aspects of it? So what are the seeds of suffering? So, I don't like to go quickly with terms, but and so that's why I've been doing this work, is to understand things better and to keep drilling down to root causes until I'm at the bottom of the bedrock to secure the steel pile and now build up. Um,
Mm.
so, but we can only chip away a little bit at a time. So, even though some of the conversations may be dominated by suffering with the story, the act that we're talking about it and describing it and then breaking down is where the love is actually being shown and the courageousness is being shown by doing that within talking about the suffering and explaining. So even though the majority of the conversation may be focused, say, on the suffering in some episodes or components, there's actually a ton of love, a ton of humility, and a ton of courageousness and positive stuff within the act of talking about it and working through the components and the mechanics of it as well.
And that's your courage. That's your love, your self-love, and your self-courage. That's what you're
Thank you.
doing.
Yeah, and yeah, blessed with this whole thing and you. So thank you. Grateful.
All right. Well, let's get courageous.
Yep. Let's do it.
Let's get courageous. Take me back. 2023, wildfire season. And you know what? I don't even think I know this story. Not the nitty gritty of it. I know bits of what happened after, but I don't know the catalyst. Take me back. What
Well,
happened? Where? Yeah, go for it.
thank you. No, thank you. And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
So Tina, again, there's so much and there's so many stories and there's so many facts and there's so many different things. Even the build up to it. So a large part of it was the triggers, the unconscious triggers that I had leading up to it. So, and I want to be careful, with limited time we have in this episode, that I want to focus on the story of the wildfire evacuation, and the breaking point for me. But there was an incredible lead up to that breaking point for me to even be broken and to go to the psych ward. So otherwise I wouldn't have been broken if I didn't have that lead up with the volcano building the pressure, which I wasn't even aware of. I couldn't see myself. So just very quickly, in January 2022, these were significant things. So imagine me, like I said, with the whole gears thing. Now I understand this. I didn't at the time, but here I am in sixth gear all the time, going fast, 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 because that's all I know. My nervous system is heightened because I'm stuck in heightened mode. Because when he first started molesting me, I'm stuck in fear mode now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and physiologically, or whatever you want to call it, I'm not a doctor here, but anyways, I'm stuck in this heightened mode, and then I crash. So when I can't sustain it anymore, and then I go back into heightened mode. I mean, my kids have witnessed this, all this kind of stuff, right? So it was very apparent to work because I was called Hurricane and it was on the board. So I didn't have a cruise control. I didn't have the third gear. That was completely foreign to me. I didn't know because that didn't experience to me unless it was before, when I was 13, when before dad died. So I'm in that state as is. Then January 2022 is when I went to Jasper and then I wrote for about 7 days. I just got a cabin. I rented one, got away from the company, got away from everything. I was still doing some hiring from there, but bought a ton of food, a bunch, and stuff. And basically I did a bunch of writing because I wanted to kind of plan my future and figure out where I was going as well as my personal story, which I knew that I always wanted to do. This was in my heart. But so again, I got to get to the wildfire story, but the long, quick and dirty of that one in January 2022 is after those 7 days, I found out, and that's a story worth an episode or more. Hell, that's a book. Is I had blacked out that this same man that had molested me from, let's say, 1982 to 89 or 90, right in the middle in that, smack in that, probably 1985-ish, he was charged with molesting two young boys in a city in BC. And so, again, not to be too long on the story, and there's lots of big components with this. Essentially, what he did is he manipulated some people from the church congregation in Yellowknife to come and be character references for him. One of which was my mom, and she was testified that he was a great guy. Actually, stayed at their house, and meanwhile he was doing this to me, and she had no clue, and nobody did. Part of this whole thing is secrecy, and you learn to be very secret and two-faced because that's what he taught me. And so then I knew that had happened, but what happened, what was significant was, and what I had blacked out, is that it came to my understanding that I had written a letter because Mom said to me when I asked her about the facts of what actually happened, she said, Trevor, I didn't write a letter. She said, you wrote a letter. That completely killed me. And here the guy had molested me in a totally different way.
Mm.
My mom had taken a letter from me to say he was such a great second dad after my dad died and what he was being like, because he would visit me in Vancouver with my mom. She'd cook him dinner, and then he would take me for a ride, do his shit at Grouse Mountain. And then he would, so I guess what my point is here I am in the boardroom now, having meetings at Kasteel Construction with tears falling down. And I'm telling people, hold on a second. I got this. Just give me a second. Tears stop. And now we resume the board meeting. And that anguish and anxiety, first time I've ever experienced panic attacks. And I'm locking my office door, walking around my office with my shirt off and the window open, just trying to frickin' breathe. And I still have that. I can't wear t-shirts right now. It chokes me. I can't even wear my dad's ring on the necklace sometimes because it frickin' chokes me.
Just take a sec. Just take a sec. Mhm. Yeah, just take a sec. Just take a
There are
sec.
so many physical things that I struggle with still today. There are so many, uh, there are so many things I struggle with. So that had happened.
Okay.
Secondly,
I just want to make sure I'm
and
getting it right. I just want to make sure I'm hearing it right. So you went away and so January 2022, and you went away for 7 days to do some writing because you knew you always wanted to tell your story.
well,
And
I wanted to map out the future of the company. I
ah,
wanted to, so it was objectives and goals.
yeah.
Kind of my personal, what am I doing with the company and what am I doing with myself?
Ah,
And so I just wanted to get some kind of structure or clarity and map out, a little bit of where I was going, what I was doing. Meanwhile, I was trying to keep a little bit of the operations of the company going from afar while I was taking some time for myself.
got it.
So
And while you're
that's it.
away, some stuff came up
I just
about
started asking some questions
ah,
with family.
right.
And so as I investigated more, and this is part of the grieving and things like this. So this is a perfect example of me
Yeah.
digging into my suffering
Yeah.
and then what I find out. So that I mean, and I completely blacked it out. Now I have a memory
Wow.
of me actually floating above, seeing myself at 15 years old or something, writing a letter at my desk in our apartment on Keith Road in North Vancouver for him
Mhm.
for court, which I had never remembered before.
And was he in court at that time for something else or for these two other kids? Is that right?
That's correct. So he was
Okay.
charged for molesting two young boys.
Yeah.
And then so what he was doing was trying to, get character references for
Yeah.
his defense.
Right.
I believe he ended up getting probation on it. And then, um, yeah. And meanwhile, nobody had any clue. And then, then he was continuing to molest me at the same time and did for another, say, 3 years.
So all
So
this floods up
So
and
I,
the pan
yeah,
the
meanwhile, I got to operate a company with, 30, 50 people, and
yep.
I got to keep that shit going. I got to keep, the house going. I got to keep the kids going. Just all the regular day-to-day stuff, which is, so it's just, that's part of what you can't see yourself. So what that happened, then there was probably three large ones, two of which I can share with you because, part of this is also protecting people within my story, and so there's some things I can share and some things I can't. So I had three significant triggers, leading up to the evacuation finally and stuff like that. Um, and then the second one, which was or the last one, which I can share, but I need to be careful with because there's liability and risk associated because it involves the company. Is that we had a senior member of the staff who was doing turnarounds 2 weeks in, 2 weeks out, roughly, um, into staying at our staff house. And then the RCMP, this is a whole nother story, but the RCMP showed up one day, and then the second day they showed up, they served a search warrant, and there were three charges of sexually assaulting a woman in my staff house, um, and restrainment and confinement of for sexual assault purposes of this woman in my staff house, and an assault. And they were looking for things that I won't share, that were written on the warrant because, again, I don't want to hurt people or trigger people. Um,
But
but
that
it was
triggered you.
quite
That
disgusting. Well, yes, it triggered me, but at the same time, I can't let it trigger me because I have to run a company.
uh,
I had no time to process this crap. And so what I ended up doing subconsciously or unconsciously, sorry, is jumping into eighth gear, then jumping into 10th gear, then jumping into 12th gear. Now I'm spinning faster and faster and faster. My communications to people, my strategic, my planning, my, you know, daily tasks, all of it, and even the focus is not there the way it should be if I wasn't spinning even faster. So I'm creating my own chaos and I don't even know it because he's the source of it all. And so now I have this, and that's a whole nother shit story. I have to hire an employment letter when we're already looking at restructuring talks. Now I got to put the person on leave, pay them administrative leave when there's other things that I would like to say and do. I've got to control my emotions. I've got to be professional. I've got to be smart with risk and liability everywhere. I mean, I want to throw an F-bomb right now, but so, so that happened.
so I just want to
Then,
pause there as well. We'll
yeah,
build on this.
mhm.
I've heard you use language, I gotta, and I'm not negating that. And I want to acknowledge though that you had a choice and you always stood up. While you have a narrative, I'm hearing the narrative, I gotta. Whew, a lot of people may not have been able to stand up to that gotta. And somewhere inside you, there was I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was responsibility. I don't know if it was dignity. I don't know if it was just if it was sheer will. I don't know if it was love. I'm curious. Like, is, is that kick-ass love in action? But before we even knew it was kick-ass love, like you didn't
Before I
have
knew it.
to, you did. Yeah.
No, that's thank you for stopping that and digging into that a bit. Um, it's kind of what I said before with this whole suffering plus courage equals resilience, is that I didn't even know all along that I was being resilient, that I was being courageous. I had no clue. So, and the other aspect of this too is really, when the psychiatrist, three psychiatrists, are wondering how the hell I'm still alive in Alberta. And so um where I'm going with that is the infection also kept me alive.
Mm.
The disease he gave me, insidious shit, the process that I took unconsciously, which I don't even freaking understand, which I want to really dig into this too. And there's so many things to dig into. And like I said to you, anger is one of the things that has kept me alive. Just one, but an important one. That that's where I'm saying that it's turning liabilities into assets. And I actually had assets that kept me alive that I didn't even understand or know. And it was assets from the sexual abuse and his insidious psychological torture of me for so long.
And I'm going to say transmuted, lack of a better word, atrocity into asset.
Yeah, but I had no clue. You're
Sure.
100% right. This
Yeah,
is all at an unconscious level,
sure.
which I'm just
Isn't that
barely.
amazing though? Like just
It
take a
is.
moment to go look what this can do. Whew. Look at what this can do. And that is, I'm not holding that up as an example for anyone who hasn't been able to do that. Not at
Oh
all.
God, no.
Not at
No.
all. But I
Everybody's
am
is customized.
right. But look at what this can do.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm,
there's all kinds of stories and movies and all kinds of different things, books of resilience all over the
mm,
place in different ways and different facets of
yeah.
what people have done. And for the people that have, you know, had to give in to the opposite, um, nothing but love for them, because who knows that the prison that they were in.
Yeah.
And
And where our
there can
survival
be no
comes from.
judgment. Yeah,
Mhm,
there can be no judgment or
mhm,
opinion or assumptions there at all. And if they are, they're reactive and they're foolish.
mhm.
So, yeah, if
Yeah.
that that helps.
Okay. So
And
yes, carry on. Do you know where you are?
yeah, you bet. So that had happened in probably April and May of 2023. So we got January 2022, finding out about this big letter, and and you can't understand the impact that that had, even though that was a year and a half before April 2023. April 2023, this happened, and this is a leader within the company as well. I mean, there's so many different variables associated with something with someone being charged, and all the different things unconsciously that are now affecting things too. Um, and then meanwhile, there's restructuring talks going on with the company on top of it. Um, and so then the wildfire buildup happens. It happened later in Kelowna, but started in Yellowknife and Kelowna, British Columbia. But the wildfire starts happening where, we've got water on one side of us, but we've got three wildfires closing in on either, all three sides of Yellowknife, more extreme and more, on all different sides. There's only one road out of Yellowknife down towards Edmonton, Highway 2, I believe it is. So, the insecurity, anxiety, stress. You also have business. I mean, all kinds of people. All the community that we love up here, the north that we love. It wasn't just our communities; it was others. Enterprise, small community. 90% of it was burnt down. I mean, it looked like a war zone. We were driving down highways and there was fire on either sides. And you only have one highway to leave. So again, there's just so many stories and to be told. But the evacuation happened, I think it was like August 17th of where the official notice came, and the vast majority of the city was heading down the highway. I stayed back for a couple days, but I'm going to actually fast forward to when I was down in Edmonton. So here we're evacuated now. We don't know for how long. So when you're running a business, you want to be able to plan. Even though I'm in this shitty position now because of my choices and what I did, but however my past unconscious stuff has been affecting the company negatively as well as myself. And I term it as, well, I had a choice to either bankrupt myself, which is death, or it's the death of the company. So it ended up being a pretty simple choice with the guidance of psychiatrist at Alberta Hospital psych ward. So here I am on the highway. Now I'm fast forwarding a little bit, having got out of Yellowknife. Now I got employees, mostly across Alberta, mostly in Edmonton or Calgary or wherever, in different hotels and stuff like that. 90% of our revenues is in Yellowknife with jobs. 10% is say out of town. So I'm trying to get any kind of jobs going to be able to get some kind of revenue going because, as I said to you before, hope or joy or love doesn't pay the bills. So, the reality is I got to pay stuff. I've got to keep up with stuff. And again, I could get lost in so many different aspects of this story. So I was driving down the highway from Edmonton to Calgary. It was my second time trying because I tried to pick up this guy that was on a spray foam crew in order to get a three-person spray foam crew up to a northern community, indigenous community, Delaney, to do a spray foam job, which was now going to cost more in order to be able to do the project because we're down there. I don't have the staff to be able to assist with that. I'm dealing with hiring people, human resources. The list goes on and on. And so I'm peaking. And I did a video in the truck on the way down to Calgary. I did a number of these self videos over the last 3 years, 4 years. And in that video, I have looked at and I've actually transcribed it like I've done a lot of my documents, my victim impact statement from 1996, my RCMP statement, so on, all this research. And in that video, it's just like I am completely broken. I'm crying. I'm scratching like crazy, which is an offset of sexual abuse, picking skin, bleeding. And I'm crying at some points in it for it's about 23 minutes. And at the 7 minute and the 17-minute mark, I think, or the 7 minute and 13-minute mark, I'm basically saying to God, like, I can't do this anymore. I'm broken. You broke me. And how much more do I have to endure? I can't take anymore. And if you keep dumping on me, I'm really going to disappoint my kids and the people around me because I just can't do it anymore. And I'm like, and it was, it's difficult even to look at those videos. So, the guy ended up not showing up, and we were having problems with him even catching planes. And so finally, the second day after driving all the way down to Calgary, which from Edmonton, which was 3 hours back and forth, the second time he did show up, and I got this crew up to. I got them up to Delaney, and they were starting to do some spray foam. Got another job going with one of our trainers up at the Acadie Diamond Mine to go in for 2 weeks and do some training to get some revenue going. And then once I had got that going, once my kids were okay, which I also had to deal with just make sure that they were good, especially one of them during the evacuation. Then I got back and I basically crashed. Um, I walked into a Rexall Drugs on Jasper Avenue in Edmonton. My sister has a condo there. Um, Previous to this, a couple days before this, my our general manager had a heart attack as well. Um, and I'm just being somewhat protective of them with this to not go into too much there. And um, and so and then I was trying to do some hiring of some carpenters. We had to get a human resources lawyer because of some aspects with having some people on hourly rates versus salary and the dynamics of that, and trying to get some information from people just to keep some things going. But we weren't able to pay their salaries during that. It's just so many different things when I wanted to, and I did through COVID. So yeah, I walked into the Rexall and I went and got some cold medicine because I was fighting that and on Jasper, and when I grabbed the Tylenol cold medicine, I think it is, and walked up to the counter to talk to the lady to pay for it. And she asked me, how are you doing today? And I said, good. And then I purchased it and I walked out the doors of that Rexall back onto Jasper Ave as I'm going down to my sister. It'd take me about 10 minutes to get there. And as I'm walking down the sidewalk, I'm visualizing my funeral service in Yellowknife at the gymnasium in the multiplex here, where some people have had their services. And I'm visualizing some people speaking for about me, like a eulogy. And I walked into my sister's on the fifth floor of her condo, and he was comfortable sitting on our L-shaped couch watching a little bit of TV, and I just walked in and I broke down immediately. I said, Carolyn, I need some help. And so then I so I think some components were taken care of that I could actually break down.
Yeah.
So unconsciously. Kids were okay. I got some revenue going, but I just couldn't take anymore. And so that's when she called the mental health Alberta mental health line. They started talking on speaker about being able to access and go in from, I think, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. or something like that. And then I said to both of them while they're on speaker with my sister, no, you don't understand. I cannot stay here. It wasn't safe. I've never said that before in my life. Yeah, I cannot stay here with you, Carolyn. So that's immediately then she and my niece took me to the Grey Nuns Hospital. Here I am, president of Kasteel Construction, doing work across, the north and in Yellowknife, and running, doing my best to run the company and all this trauma shit. And yeah, so I got admitted after 7 hours. They were all wonderful there. It's very busy. At Grey Nuns Emergency, I was admitted into the mental health emergency ward. I was there for 2 days. I was about 11 o'clock at night. The first psychiatrist came and saw me. I'd never seen a psychiatrist in my life before. I didn't really understand the difference between psychologists, psychiatrists, counseling psychiatrists. Now knowing the medical profession with the psychological profession was enormous for me to be able to connect a lot of dots. And it was such a blessing. So here I just was like a machine gun, and I let this guy have it, the psychiatrist, and not in a bad way, but I just gave every and I did it systematically, like in business with bullet items, so major events, and I went down right down the whole list. And then my sister, for about an hour, I just gave it, and then I walked out, and then my sister went in, and then I asked her to actually write a passage about what he had said to her, and I've got that. He was in somewhat disbelief as to why I was still alive. They must have seen something as quite serious, because then I saw immediately, didn't know what was going on, but immediately I think it was his boss that came and saw me the next morning and spoke with me. And then the next morning after that, it was a Saturday morning, Thursday night, I was admitted there just before the September long weekend, 2023. And so that Saturday morning now, after speaking with his boss on the Friday morning and him on the Thursday night, um, the EMTs show up and now they're transferring me. And I thought I was just going to get a room in the Grey Nuns. Now they're transferring me to loading me up in my stuff and taking me to into the ambulance to another hospital. And they said it was Alberta Hospital. So here I am in the back of this ambulance, and now we're actually driving along the Anthony Henday on the north side, northeast side of Edmonton, I believe it is. And we're going to the outskirts somewhat of Edmonton. There's no more trees there, and I'm going, what the hell's going on here? And I thought Alberta Hospital was just another hospital. Well, no, it's not just another hospital. Um, we drive up to building number 10 with its own kind of little university campus out there with different buildings for different purposes. And there's steel fencing around the base of it, and for people not to be able to get out. And again, I'm president of Kasteel Construction, going, not that I focus on this, but I'm just going, I got a company going. I've got a, people are like, what the hell is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And so then they walk me in, the two of them, they walk me in to this building number 10 with like 4 wards, 29 beds per, I think it is, per ward. I could be wrong there. Two stacked on top of each other, essentially, with the administrative building and stuff like that in the middle. Then it's all one component, and then with the steel fencing around the bottom ones. So I was in the top upper left-hand ward. So they walked me up to 2A, and I get scanned through a set of steel doors like you see in the prison. And then I get into the middle section where it's fairly small, links to the nurse's office and stuff, before you get scanned through another set of steel doors into the ward where all the patients are. And so they searched me, and they took away anything that was I could harm myself with, and then they proceeded to admit me into and scan me through to and get me assigned to a room with a roommate, and there I was for the next 3.5, 4 weeks, seeing a psychiatrist probably about an hour and a half every day for 5 days a week, which was an incredible blessing. Scared the shit out of me for the first 2 days. But I'm seeing, all kinds of people that you would see from the movies. Meanwhile, I've got doing Teams meetings with my corporate lawyer from the psych ward. I'm lining up for snack time at 8 o'clock with them. I'm getting my meds and my vitals checked every morning. You have your dinner trays and breakfast trays, and um, you get supervised walks outside. Um, it was really, really wild. And I couldn't get outside for quite a few days as well because I needed a pass from a psychiatrist to do that. So, people talking to themselves, uh, just it was wild. People drooling and I shouldn't say drooling, but I don't want to fabricate things, but walking around with a teddy bear and giggling at nothing, and it was a wild show. So, walking into the bathroom and there's somebody masturbating in the tub, you know, and you're going, I'm just going, what the hell just happened here? Like, um, so it was a shock, but it ended up being a real blessing.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
yeah, and kind of going back to the cemetery is it gave me a whole new perspective.
Going back to the cemetery today.
Yeah, when what I mean by that is perspective in both places, that
Okay.
there's a link there. It gave me a level of perspective that at the Alberta Hospital at the psych ward that I had never had before in information. And the cemetery also gives me perspective. I actually got peace of both places too. So there's a
Uh,
link there, is what I'm trying to say,
gotcha.
between the two,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I was able to actually get some peace. And
Mm-hmm.
they were incredible there. They were beautiful there,
Mm.
and they cared, and they gave a shit, and it was obvious. Um,
Can I?
so it was just learning to care and give a shit about myself, which I didn't know I wasn't doing.
Mm-hmm. 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 Can I reflect something?
Sure, please.
Hmm. I think what I was really present with, first off, thank you for sharing all the pieces of that. And I don't even like to use the word that, like sharing all the pieces of that. How
Yeah.
about just sharing all the pieces? Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing all the pieces.
Thank you.
And I really heard and actually witnessed your body kind of relax a bit when we got into the Alberta hospital. And the fact that people were there and noticed you, saw you, met you, named the pain that you were in, accepted it. Like there was this radical acceptance of the pain that you were in, and then a response to it, an immediate response. You were cared for, you were seen, you were validated, your story was heard in full, and you have a wealth of communication and of skills inside of you. Your ability to track and name and share is extraordinary. And you were met like the bigness of you. But and let's be beautifully honest about there's a reason reduced speed ahead is behind you. Like yes for sure there, and like yes for fucking sure you had some mega
You
trauma,
go, girl.
right?
Yeah.
That accelerated the speed you probably came into the world as. I mean,
I
well,
needed that. Sorry. I mean, I needed that psych ward thing to happen.
yeah,
It was the last straw
yeah.
to finally, the first words that I said, and sorry to interrupt you, the first words that I said when I first sat down, I believe, with the psychiatrist, Dr. T, I like to call him because I don't want to use his name, is I said, my soul is exhausted. And I think way too often I find that I have, and I find the world leaning more to this, that we are moving way too fast over words, and we're even using them too loosely. And I don't know where that came from. I didn't premeditate that phrase, but to use the words, my soul is exhausted, like that is incredibly deep and profound to be saying. It's also intuitive. It's also, I mean, and there's all an aspect of like, oh man, like we're starting from a good base here. Um, because the identifiers there. And that was actually the root cause, is my soul was tortured by this man. Every component, foundational component that supports a healthy soul, which everything else filters from, for me, and at least anyways, my heart, my body, my mind. Every important foundational component of my soul was twisted, tainted, and tortured. Because what I'm talking about, a foundational component, is love, is trust, is integrity, is character. So here I have this contrast, and all unconsciously, from before 13 to after 13. And it's
Yes.
all unconscious. So talk about conflict. The thing that this sexual abuse shit does, it creates, for me at least, conflict and confusion everywhere. It's like I said, that drop of food coloring in a water bottle, and it gets through everything. It does leave nothing untouched in the bottle. Well, that's what it did to my mind. That's what it did to my body. Never mind my spirit, my soul. So
So,
every aspect of that was tainted. So the soul was, like a prisoner of war, but it was an unconscious prisoner of war going through the shit of a prisoner of war secretly.
so here's where I want to wrap us up today.
Mm-hmm.
I hear that disorientation. I hear that torture. I hear that confusion, and I hear that conflict. And as I hear your story, I also hear a soul that knew to say, I need help. A soul that knew, I got to get this and this and this together, and then I can, right? Your kids, the work, there's a freaking fire going on at the same time. And I offer you to consider that our soul, what if our soul is like the energy from which we are made of? Therefore, what if that energy can't actually be manipulated? It is what it is. But we live in a body with a mind that really is just a reflection of anything else that's put into it. You speak of resilience, Trevor, and I know that you do work in prisons. And as you walk in and meet each of these men, I know that what you're seeing in them is their soul, the untouched part. And so I want
The
to,
soul that's in pain,
a
the soul
soul
that's
pain.
suffering. I 100%. I can. You just feel it. You see it in their eyes. There's no words. There's no words.
Can we hang in there for a sec? Because I
Hmm.
also want to name that you have an extraordinary gift of language, and not everybody does. Some of the people that I work with, language doesn't come easy to them. Words don't come easy to them. That's why we
Yeah.
work in expression, right? But
Mm.
you do.
Thank you.
And what a blessing that is. And so we might have listeners on the show going, I don't even know where those words come from for me. Help for someone who doesn't, where language doesn't come easy, can look like something else, right? Asking for help can look like I'm getting on the couch in front of someone I love and I'm not getting off until somebody does something, right? I want to name that help lived inside of you. The cry for help lived inside of you, and you let that out. And that takes courage
Mm.
and self love. And then, whew,
Yeah.
Finally,
Yeah.
you were met. The bigness of you was met by the bigness of care in that hospital. And I'm very grateful for that.
Hmm. Thank you for that, and bless you. And I'm glad that you were just talking about this, because the other thing, the thing that there's two things right now. One is that in visiting Dad again at the cemetery this morning, and I actually sit in a couple of brown wicker chairs at I think it's Luc Charpentier's grave, and it's probably about 11 years ago this 21-year-old passed away. And I've actually met his mother there one time and told her how much it means to me to what he's doing for me when I sit with him, and I was able to do some writing there too. And but I I've also written a little bit about this and some things. That courage, when you break it down, just like the mind, you break down into the unconscious and the conscious. What I'm talking about is that I was doing a lot of unconscious courage. So when you really look at the root cause, or you start to break shit down, like on the Excel spreadsheet, when you want to understand the numbers of how they ended up being how they were. And my Excel spreadsheet goes down from courage to spreading out to what's the formula then? What's the addition? There's unconscious courage and there's conscious courage.
Love this. I love
And
this.
what we're talking about right now with our formula is the suffering plus courage equals resiliency. We're talking about the conscious courage. We're talking about making a conscious decision. You're already unconsciously courageous because
Already.
because you're already resilient and you already have suffering. So you're already a consciously courageous. All we're talking about is flipping and now starting to make more and more consciously courageous decisions to actually keep growing. And growth hurts. It's freaking hard. And you're going to piss some people off, and which I've done. I've hurt a lot of people that I didn't want to. I built the company for the opposite purpose, to actually help people. So talk about another conflict. But I knew the direction that I had to go, and I had to finally trust me. And to find out in the Alberta hospital, this was the key here, to find out that my purpose in life was misguided. My foundational purpose. The company was built to help people. People knew that when I hired them. And we helped a lot of people in this community, and the letters are evidence of that, character references and so on. But just who cares about the letters? The acts are just, I love helping people. It freaking, like, it's the fuel that just drives me. Let's go. But I was never helping myself. I was
Mm.
starving myself. So I was out here with the company feeding people and helping people, but I was never helping myself, and I was completely blind to that. Completely blind to that. And so that wasn't sustainable. And yes, I ended up hitting a telephone pole at 150K an hour, and ended up being in the Alberta hospital because I didn't even know I was speeding. I was out of control. I had no freaking clue. I basically had a blindfold on as I'm driving down the highway at 150K. So yeah, I'm going to hit a telephone pole. And that's that unconscious world where you don't even know you're on the damn highway.
I just want
So,
to check
yeah,
in on this one. We'll probably move this story to another time, but you're not speaking
yeah.
metaphorically, right? You literally hit a pole at 150K.
No, that's metaphorically. I want
Okay,
to
it is.
clarify.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh, are we
I
in
don't know
another
if I'd be
chapter?
here
Where are
with
we
that one.
going?
I mean, yeah, that's holy shit. We write another book about that one. Yeah,
Woo!
that'd be a good story. I mean, we can make something up, but there's enough of that shit out there.
Metaphorical.
So we'll just,
Got it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's
Phew.
metaphorical. But yeah,
Okay.
this has been a good episode, but yeah, it was important to clarify and to break down the courage into unconscious and conscious courageous decisions, um, and what those may be in your life, and my life. And then the second thing is finding out more and finding out more foundational. Is what was the key for me. And so understanding that my foundation was flawed, my purpose was flawed, and like I had the right direction from my heart, my compass, but I was going the wrong direction and I didn't even know. Like it wasn't sustainable.
Maybe our next episode, we can talk a little bit more about what foundation means to you, because I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of layers to that, even in definitions and things like that, which we'll get to next time.
Mm.
Um, so I want to close in a good way for you. And
Sure.
given that you brought up self-love today, I would love, if you're willing, and I'll do it
Yeah.
too. We can both play. We can both play. Um,
Hit me.
what,
Not literally, but
uh, I just went to 150K that's where my brain went. That's funny. Hit me. Ah,
we
okay.
all do. We all do. Go for it.
What is one? Not, it doesn't have to be one. You can have three. I know you. You're not a one person. You're a three person. What's one to three things
Mm. Yeah.
that you are loving yourself for today from this conversation? What are you willing to give to yourself from this conversation?
That's a whammy. Thank you, my dear.
We got to take the medicine we give.
Yeah. I love that I'm being honest with myself. So therefore, I'm proud of myself. And therefore, a lot of other things then positive start happening from that help. Um, I love that I'm determined. And I love that I'm doing a better job of being gentle with myself, or at least knowing to be gentle with myself. So gentleness comes from love. So yeah, so I love that I'm finally knowing how to love myself. And what's so interesting is to have survived for so long, um, and not have even been aware of that until a year and a half ago, even with decades of therapy. So that shows you how insidious this kind of stuff is, with so many secrets and layers to it. So yeah, no, I've done a good job so far, and we'll see where it goes.
Hmm. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you.
sharing that. Okay, what about me?
Yeah,
Hmm.
what about yourself? Sorry.
Oh, don't apologize.
No,
Uh,
go for it.
I think I would, I not would, I do. I love myself for my willingness to follow and
Hmm.
trust the process. I do love that. I really do love. I find that incredibly nourishing for me because I can let go and feel held by the process.
Mm.
And it's
Mm.
very peaceful for me and
And you do a great
sustainable.
job of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
And I also love playfulness. I really love
oh shit,
playfulness.
yeah.
I love my Snoopy mug, which is actually my partner's mug, but I love it.
Yeah. Let's go, girl. No. Fun's where it's at too, boy.
Right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Love
Let's party. Well, not
it.
sure. Yeah. Anyway,
Well, Snoopy
moving
party.
on.
Snoopy
Yeah.
party.
Whoop,
Not
whoop.
the jelly bean party.
Okay.
Woo, woo.
Yeah.
All right. Well, till next time, where I think we'll see what happens, but I think we'll talk about foundations.
Sure.
I acknowledge you. I acknowledge your courage. I acknowledge you're finding yourself today when things went when it started to get like this and you
Yeah.
found yourself. And I acknowledge you for the journey because sometimes when we've identified with our trauma for a long time, we can find pockets of trauma and go, here I am. No, you're not your trauma. The trauma is what happened. And you were able to hit pockets of pain and then find yourself in it. And that is massive, massive. So I acknowledge you for that. Your
Thank
muscle there. Well done.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I mean, it's essentially working out on the inside versus working out on the outside. So you got to keep going and do the hard reps.
That sounds like let's end on that. You gotta do
Okay.
hard reps.
There you go. Yeah, let's go. Okay.
Till next time, my friend.
Yeah, till next time. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to episode 1 of Kick-Ass Love. This isn't just a podcast. It's a build site. It's a blueprint. It's a fire pit where we tell the truth and don't look away. Next up on episode 2, we're heading into Trev's learning journey, and we're bringing you with us. We're going to unpack a few of the stories he's already shared, but this time through a new lens. We're going to talk about what actually happened, what it cost, and what it takes to heal. Together, we'll explore the real-life impact of trauma alongside the psychological insights Trev's gleaned to help make sense of it all. Kick-Ass Love isn't just storytelling and reflection. It's reconstruction in real time with heart, clarity, and courage. So stay with us. The journey's just getting started. This is Kick-Ass Love, and let's keep on kicking. We want you to know the content shared on the Kick-Ass Love podcast is based on Trev's personal lived experience. These are his reflections on healing, accountability, and transformation. He is not a licensed psychologist or therapist, and I am finishing up my diploma as an expressive arts therapist. I am the space holder for these conversations. The information and opinions expressed are not intended to diagnose, treat, or offer medical or psychological advice, and this podcast is not a substitute for professional support. If you are experiencing mental health challenges or require clinical care, please seek help from a qualified healthcare provider or licensed therapist in your area. Call 811 for a helpline responder, and if things are particularly dark in this moment, call 988 from anywhere in Canada to reach the Suicide Crisis Helpline. Your journey is valid, and you don't have to do it alone.